It's not actually that late. I just live in the Pacific Northwest and it gets dark at 4:30 here in the winter. It's about 5 p.m. on Friday, November 21st. I'm late getting around to filming today because I've been under the weather and not sleeping very well at night. Today's the first day I don't have a fever, but I'm still especially if I'm laying down. You know how it is when you have that respiratory infection. You seem like you're a little bit okay during the day when you're mobile, but when you lay down at night, the cough just takes over. 2 other members of my household are quite sick. It's not COVID, but I think I'm going to stay home from the big protests tomorrow. There's protests all over the country tomorrow, by the way. Search on Mobilize for one near you. Huge one in Washington, D.C., and one here in Portland held by No Kings Portland. I think I'm going to skip it because I just want to make sure that I'm not contagious. I don't want to get anybody sick. But I will be with y'all in spirit. So aside from doing like housework and just being kind of slow, getting going today, I took some time this morning and was working on knitting. I'm trying to finish this vest that I have been working on for months. Yeah, I've also been doing sewing projects, and I did knit my eldest kid a whole cardigan after I started this. So it's not like I haven't been doing other crafting. But normally, a vest like this I would get done in a month easily, maybe less. It's on 2s and 3s, so it does take a little bit longer than a project on bigger needles. But you can see here's the front of it. I gotta take a second and brag, y'all. I gotta take a second and brag. So here's the front of it. I had to change balls of yarn, and you can see the difference in the colorways. So all of this yarn was gifted to me by my friend Phoenix. She gave me a whole big bag of yarn a couple of years ago, and it included these 2 balls of merino, this kind of mustard color, and then this pink color, and then these 2 balls of Malabrigo. I thought that's enough for a vest. I can totally knit a vest with that. I didn't realize that these are 2 different dye lots, but that's the yarn that I have to work with. So it'll be a little wabi-sabi, but I'll still wear it. Anyway, I really want to get this done because it's now going to be winter and I want to wear this vest. So I took some time this morning to finish my audiobook and work on knitting. And, I was thinking about how in the before times, I know our sense of time is all messed up and our sense of what's normal is all messed up because of COVID, right? Anything from 2020 on is just completely skewed. And we all spent a ton of time at home during lockdown doing all kinds of crafty things. Everybody was baking sourdough and making their own yogurt and gardening and getting chickens and what have you. A lot of my life was like that before 2020. The thing that I really lost was roller derby. And I ended up going back to a lot of the crafts and hobbies and pursuits that I did before I spent an absolutely insane amount of time doing derby every week. As I was sitting and knitting this morning, I was thinking about how little crafting I actually do since Donald Trump got elected, how much my life has changed in really small ways that may seem really insignificant. Right? My neighbors are being rounded up by the American Gestapo. People are losing their jobs. Me not having as much time to knit and the fact that I haven't gotten my spinning wheel out in 11 months. It's that quote from the Kardashians when Kim loses her diamond earring going swimming and her sister, I don't actually know the names of all the Kardashians. I just know that clip. Her sister says, "People are dying, Kim," when she melts down about losing her earring while they're snorkeling in some exotic location. And that quote tends to pop into my head, and actually my kids and I tend to say it to each other when we take these moments and lament these small things that have changed. And I realized this morning, I need to stop doing that. I need to stop being like, oh, okay, I shouldn't complain about the little things that have been taken away because of Donald Trump. I shouldn't complain about small things that add up to a life that I find enjoyable and meaningful that have been taken away because I now have to spend my time fighting fascism. I don't know, as I took some time for myself to get a couple inches of knitting done on this vest this morning, I was like, it's okay to be sad and angry about the small things that I enjoyed no longer being as accessible to me because I have to expend energy and resources and my valuable life hours fighting fascism. And I guess I just want to encourage all of you, if you have found yourself having that mindset that I've had, of there are people who are oppressed far more by this regime than I am. There are people who are losing so much more than I am right now. Yeah, we can acknowledge that that is true, and we have to make sure that we are organizing and we are advocating and we are engaging in mutual aid on behalf of the people who are most targeted by the regime. But at the same time, I think we need to count. We need a fucking list. We need to keep a tally, a record of everything that has been taken from us because we have to do this shit now. In fact, I think it's really important that we acknowledge all of the small ways that our lives have changed, all of the small ways that they have moved the needle, all of the little things they have taken from us, all of the paper cuts that they have inflicted, right? All of those actually add up. Somebody who is perpetually talking about small solutions and how small acts of resistance matter and small changes in your garden can yield big benefits. The other side of that is true too. When those small, meaningful things that you engaged in are taken away from you, that can cause a significant detriment in your life. That can cause a significant amount of grief, and you have a right to be upset about that. Most of us do not live grand, significant lives where everything we do is crucial and important and makes some big difference in history. Most of us live very simple, mundane, ordinary lives. But in those very ordinary lives, we should have access to the things that bring us joy. We should be able to live meaningful lives, engaged in work, engaged in community, engaged in connections, relationships, hobbies, activities that bring us joy. And we understand that we are not going to let this regime rob us of all of our joy. We understand that joy is resistance. They want us to live bleak, hopeless lives devoid of joy and pleasure, and we're not going to give them that victory. But at the same time, you have a right to be upset at the ways your life has changed. You have a right to be upset at the opportunity cost of all of the things you could be experiencing now if we had Kamala Harris for our president, all of the things we could be experiencing now if the Republicans had simply stood up and done their job, if Congress were functional and they had checked Donald Trump. You have a right to lament the reality that we are having to live right now because greedy, terrible men, greedy institutions and corporations think that they can increase their profit margin by holding up a sad, frail, aging narcissist bent on grifting off the American people and enacting his retribution against us for his perceived narcissistic injuries from 2020. And I guess for me, as somebody who's very pragmatic and understands that this is the hand that we've been dealt, we didn't deserve this. This is not right. We could have had a different present if other people in the past had made different choices. But the option is either to become bitter and resentful, or it's to take that anger, it's to take that grief and use it to motivate me to act so that we can create a better future for ourselves and for our children. I know that since Trump got reelected, we're seeing Lord of the Rings quotes everywhere. Good time to rewatch the whole trilogy our family did last month. There's so much in it that is applicable to the experience that we are enduring right now. This interaction between Frodo and Gandalf is quoted so much that it almost feels like the Mona Lisa. It's so prominent, it's so profused in the discourse that it's hard for us to see the image of the Mona Lisa for how truly beautiful and unique and profound a work of art that she is. Likewise, it's difficult for us, I think, because we've seen this quoted so much this year, really grasp how profound, how wise this exchange is between Frodo and Gandalf. So I want to read it to you one more time, because when I'm thinking about the loss of all of the small, simple things that add up to make my life meaningful, I think about the opportunity cost when I feel that bubbling resentment about what we've lost. I don't want to get caught in a futile spiral of rage. I don't want to just stew in my resentment. I want to think about what is actually in my control, what I can change. What can I do with a set of circumstances, with the hand that I've been dealt? Live in and live out my values. So I'm going to leave you here with this exchange between Frodo and Gandalf. I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf, and so do all who live in such times. But this is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us.